Hi guys, from Pax Europiana, this time from Upper Austria, from Linz. It's a very historic and tragic place. It's of course where Hitler wanted to be buried, the evil dictator. He wanted to be buried on the top of this hill. That was his plan for his mausoleum. And that's the city where he went to school. And he was obviously the evil dictator by itself. That's quite clear. And he was also a very big anti-American. Anti-Americanism was next to anti-Semitism and anti-Bolshevism. It was, of course, his big platform. And this tragic legacy of anti-Americanism of Hitler is still very present in this city in Linz. Yeah? It's a fact. And it's one of the reasons why we are not in NATO today. Because today we are a free country, we are a EU country, we could join NATO. Most of our allies are in NATO. But today, the Austrian Chancellor in 2022 and the Landeshauptmann, the governor, and all the elite of the Austrian Christian Democratic Party, as inheritance of this anti-Americanism, which is rampant in Austria, have rejected NATO membership. And that's very sad, because Alois Mock, who is obviously the big leader of the Austrian Christian Democrats historically, who brought us into the EU, and he was the cold warrior of Austria, and of course a very rampant anti-communist, he would be shocked that now in this moment, when we are now 27 years in EU and we are in this big confrontation with Russia, that now his party has decided to go into rampant anti-Americanism mode and defend neutrality. This is very shocking and it's absolutely the wrong policy, and I call for understanding of these reasons why this rampant anti-Americanism is there. Because in Austria, many people in the year 45, they have not really seen it as a liberation, but as defeat. It is still today in German, the Niederlage. And this Niederlage was, of course, in the eyes of the Austrians, very much the Americans. Churchill, very unpopular, and I know that very well, because I'm born in this town here, and I know exactly many people who think like that, and who fought like that in the generation before me, and also today. And this somehow misunderstanding, this not kind of misconception of liberation as defeat, has then translated in the acceptance of neutrality, because then, you know, we were somehow free. We were not in America, not with the Soviets. So that was the Austrian way, because it's based on this Austrian arrogance. The Austrian arrogance, similar to Germany, but it was a different decision in the division of 55, and Adenauer, a different leader than we had. This arrogance is very, very strong. Yeah? They think that they are very, very special, very important, very unique. Yeah? And this kind of Germanic arrogance against Anglo-Saxon world domination, against also Russia, and against Jewish, and it's anti-Semitism ultimately. This is very strong still today in Austrian political elite. They will not say that, you know. I'm the only one who accuses them like that, because I know them very well. They don't like me to say that, but it's exactly at this point in Linz, I can tell you exactly why they hate NATO, not because they love neutrality, or because of low spending, or because of immoral neutralism, or because it is a kind of a self-perpetuating myth. Obviously, after 67 years of neutrality myth, then people start to believe it, and it's very, easy. We are like the bridge to Moscow. We are the island of peace, and all these things. All these things are, of course, okay, hard to overcome. But the underlying main reasons, and I know that from many conversations and many talks with political leaders, with their advisors, with their friends, because I'm one of them. I was a student leader of the Christian Democrats, and I worked there for several years. I know very well how they think. They have this very bizarre connotation of this American domination of the world, which they want to oppose. That's the whole idea. That's the basic thing. This Austrian arrogance, the special mission of Austria, that we are the most clever people in a kind of Übermensch, and then that we have this special mission for peace, because the rest of the world is for war, and additionally that obviously we have to fight against the American-dominated world. That's very, very popular in all political circles. It's even much worse in the Social Democrats and the Communists And this anti-Americanism is rampant. And then they come up now in this crisis and the war of Russia against Ukraine, and then there comes up the neutrality debate, and the reflex is always very clear, keep the status quo, and obviously no joining an American-led organization, because that's very deep, that they got from their grandfathers and from their parents, this kind of hatred of America. They will not say it like this because they would like to be received by American ambassador, and they want to make business with America, and they want to make investment and all these things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the underlying thing is from that time. And it's the inheritance of this evil dictator, which to this day is very strong in the mentality, in the brain, in the perception of the Austrian political elite. And they don't know it even, maybe. Yeah. And, I'm not saying that they are somehow Nazis. Yeah, no way. But they live this kind of ideology, this hatred of America, this kind of anti-Anglo-Saxon world. Yeah. This is the inheritance of Hitler, and they are still to this day living it. And then the venom, the hatred against America, this defense of neutralism, this kind of Austrian way, which is then the justification for all the things which happened after 2008, the Georgian War, and especially after 2014-15, when under the leadership of Wolfgang Schüssel, the lead neutralist, they were then organizing the whole Austrian energy system according to the Russian wishes. They have put this German Russian guy as the CEO of our energy company, and then massively intensified the energy cooperation as part of their Ostpolitik in order to balance the world against, and they saw it justified because they saw Trump, they saw this is all our kind of prejudices, kind of vindicated, and they saw Putin as the balancing act towards Trump. And then they were feeling vindicated and justified to do treasonal activities in energy sector, in financial sector, and also to block Ukraine since 2014. And actually, in case of Schüssel, since the Orange Revolution, he is blocking Ukraine. Despite him claiming to be a great European, he has consistently, now over soon 20 years, blocked Ukraine to join the European Union and NATO. In all his efforts he could, and undermine and somehow divide Europe, but by giving Ukraine completely to Putin. And this has he consistently done in all the efforts, in all the institutions, in all the positions. And now we pay the price, the Ukrainians pay the price. But we all in Europe pay the price for this failed policy, because indirectly the war costs are huge. In the energy sector, because we have to decouple from Russia now completely under pressure. We could have done that 20 years ago, where it was much smaller. But no, we have it now to do very fast track. We have also the cost of the war, the support for the Ukrainians, obviously. We have the financial cost of keeping the Ukrainian resistance working. They have now already got 10 billion from the West, and that will be quadruple very soon. And we have the indirect costs of this refugee crisis, and so on and so on. It's huge external costs, the insecurity in the economic and business sector of Europe and the world, the supply chains, the costs are enormous. Yeah? And the costs are the result of this failed Austrian policy to be pro-Putin, pro-energy in escalating terms, 2004, 2008, 2014, and the last years intensifying. And obviously they are the fruits of this anti-Americanism, which was the core of the Austrian state from day one. I can give you many examples for that. Also, when it comes, because the Austrian state in the beginning was created by the people around Molden and Alpbach in 45. Yeah? But immediately the big politicians were taking power then, the ÖVP and the SPÖ backed by the Stalin, and ÖVP by the Americans, yeah. But they didn't like that. But it was the fact, and then the Moldens were kicked out, and the Raabs and Figels moved in, and they then concluded this neutrality deal. And in a way, it was very much on the anti-Semitic and anti-American kind of philosophy, and America was their protecting power, but still on a distance because of neutrality, and they thought they are very smart. And today, the Ukrainians and all Europe are paying this heavy, enormous price of this enforced energy transition, decoupling from Russia, the war in Ukraine, and the whole disaster we are now already fully in. but the effects are just in the beginning. This will be dramatically escalating costs in terms of war, economic costs, fiscal costs, energy transition costs, and the origin of it. And here I can say the terrible old guy who wanted to be buried there will be very happy with himself, smiling that his disciples, the anti-Americanisms in all party, they are now having created all this mess, and we are all suffering so heavily from that. Yeah? And then the whole conclusions politically which they have to offer, the Nehammers and all these uninformed people, they are very clear. There is of course no to NATO Austria, no to EU for Ukraine, and nothing to change in terms of economic and institutional policy in real terms, no rearmament of Europe and all these things. They all don't want that because they want to be neutral and they don't want to see the danger, and they are the inheritance of this terrible anti-Americanism, Austrian arrogant policy, and I'm very much criticizing this. And in fact of what we really should do, like joining NATO and doing the agreement of trade, the TTIP with America, the Mercosur agreement obviously with, and then integrating the Western economy and integrate Ukraine, whatever Putin will leave us from Ukraine, to integrate it in the West fully. They will reject it, they will reject the Balkans, and they have their own kind of bizarre philosophy of anti-Americanism and Austrian arrogance, isolationism in a way, anti-trade, anti-NATO, anti-freedom, and just to cave in their kind of cave stone age mentality, and then to somehow follow the terrible tragic legacy of anti-Americanism and anti-Semitism. And they don't even know, they don't understand it. They just see, America wants to do that with us, yeah? And no, we have to resist, stay out, oh yes, blah, blah. And they don't know that the only way to deal with an aggressive enemy is deterrence. They will never do that, they will always submit. And they will be like, oh, don't kill the others, kill the Ukrainians as long as they don't kill us. That's the philosophy of the anti-Americanism. And I am deeply ashamed. I want to apologize in the name of all good Austrians, and there are many of them, who understand that context and understand that we should stand with America and Ukraine, that we should be real, fully members of the West, and we should reject the terrible legacy of anti-Americanism of Adolf Hitler. And all this, Karl Nehammer, he doesn't understand that context, but they are in this inheritance of anti-Semitism. They can go to Yad Vashem as often as they want, yeah? But they don't understand the context. They don't understand this toxic venom of anti-Americanism which is in their brain, which is created by the guy who wanted to be buried on the top of Böslingberg. This is the truth. This is nothing but the truth. I reject all this anti-NATO, anti-American venom of these people, and they are not able to defend us. They are not able to lead us, and they should resign and go back in their caves where they came from, and let real kind of able political leaders, Churchillian style, to really defend free Europe and contain the Russian aggression. Yes, this is what we need to do, and for that we need